Namaste. I'm Deepika Upadhyay and I welcome you all to this thought-provoking podcast on review of public-private partnership in railways. India's railway, one of the largest rail networks in the world, is not just a mode of transport but a lifeline to millions. However, when it comes to private participation, especially under public private partnerships, the sector seems to be moving on different track compared to highways or airports. Today, we are joined by two outstanding experts to unpack this complex journey. We are honored to welcome Mr. Rakesh Chopra, former board member of Indian Railways and ex officio secretary to the Government of India. Mr. Chopra brings unparalleled expertise in infrastructure, transportation, ports, and metro systems in India. A business leader with a demonstrable track record of administrating, managing, directing in civil engineering and construction industry. We also welcome Dr. Naresh Bana, a global advisor on public-private partnership with vast international experience across infrastructure, policy, and development sectors. Dr. Bana has been instrumental in shaping public-private partnership frames and unlocking investment opportunities in emerging and developed economies like. Let's begin this insightful ride. Mr. Chopra, India has been remarkable success in implementing public-private partnerships in the highway sector. Why do you think this success hasn't quite translated into the railways sector as yet?
So I think, uh, is it wise to first compare roads, highways, and railways? While roads and railways both start with an R, but I think there's a vast difference between the two. Now let's look at it. Roads, really for the PPP, the projects that have been there, are the construction of the road, then collecting of the toll, and the maintenance also, wherever the maintenance is there or otherwise. And that is not the same with the railways. And more so because the way we have projected the railway PPP is a little complex. Now, for instance, I'll give you a small example. Uh, New Delhi railway station. A small example I'm giving. The area, surface area it has, is equivalent to 600 kilometers of a single lane road. 600 kilometers of a single lane road. Now, the construction of a single lane road and the management is very different for the railway station and the place there. Number two, the cost for construction of the highways is much less compared to the railways, and the lead time for the infrastructure for the railways is very, very high. The third and very important thing which I feel is the freedom of movement. Railways have a total, roads, I'm sorry, have a total freedom of movement. You can have pedestrians, cycles, motorcycles, scooters, cars, trucks, tractor, anything. And it's once constructed, people move. When they're moving, they pay and they go. That is not the same for the railways. Railways, you construct a track, you run trains, and those trains are planned. They are controlled, and those passengers, freight, different sections are there. So there are a lot of difficulties that happen there, and you just can't say that yes, for a revenue model, I want to run only passenger trains or I want to carry so many passengers. That is not the way the railways function. So this is one of the biggest drawbacks or of a difference, which has to be realized that roads have a freedom which the railways don't have. Then again, I'm going back to the example of the railway station, a small example there. See, a railway station management requires more than, I would reckon, about 30 to 35 agencies to interact, be it the construction or the operations thereafter. Now, what happens during these things? Compared to the roads, you've got to collect the fare. You've got to interact with the drivers, and you have probably some automatic fare collections, some paid fare collection. That is the type of interaction, and then the maintenance bit of it, which is fine. But then the maintenance also is pretty linear. Here, 30 departments have to interact, and each one of those departments demands a compliance. So the moment you have a PPP agency, that poor agency is expected to comply with not 1 to 30 plus compliances. Now, these are some hazards which I find that are there in the difference that is there. It's something like actually on a system like this, you have today's word is quantum entanglement. We have this quantum entanglement. So sitting somewhere in the railways, somebody touches a thing, it affects the station in some way or the other. So I think there's a tremendous difference between them.
Well, Mr. Chopra, a layered perspective indeed. The structural and financial realities on railway certainly makes it a different ballgame. Sir, that truly highlights the unique institutional and financial terrains of Indian Railway. It's not a one size fits all scenario. Coming up to you, Dr. Bana, India's rapid economic growth, expanding population, and logistical demands. How equipped is the current railway infrastructure to support this surge? What lies ahead in terms of capacity?
Well, Deepika ji, as far as Indian Railways is concerned, with respect to our economic growth, it's at a critical juncture. Yesterday, I was listening to IMF's report on the global economy, and they were proudly telling the world that India is growing at 6.4% and continues to grow in 2026 also with the same rate. Now, to support this kind of growth, Railways is playing a stellar role. But to make our exports more competitive, and imports more viable, we need to look at the freight costs, which are an important part of any manufacturing or trade. If I share with you that China has more than 2.5 times of our railway network, whereas having now lesser population than us. So we need to build at least twice the rail network as we have today to bring down our freight costs and be more competitive outside and more viable inside. Now, to ensure and achieve that, railways need to upgrade capacity. They have done so. The dedicated freight corridors are functioning, but it is certainly, if I say, too less and certainly slower. So we need to have more and more uh, build of the railways, right? And for that, we have the capacity, foundational capacity we have. We have institutional expertise and excellence. What we need is policy coherence, strategic vision, and faster construction. And certainly, if we bring in public-private partnership, which is one of the format to utilize the private capacity, private financing, because all this humongous development would need a lot of money and a lot of capacity. Because even if you today start financing from the government in an EPC mode, which is happening, you need people to do it. You need capacity. You need managerial experience, risk taking, and a whole lot of things. So for that, we certainly, I would say, public-private partnership will have to play a crucial role in development of Indian Railways and to ensure our economic growth is further bolstered.
Absolutely, it's a race between demand and capacity, and clearly, strategic planning will make all the difference. Thank you for that, Dr. Bana. Clearly, the momentum needs both investment and modernization in equal measure. Uh, my question to you, Mr. Chopra, is Indian Railways has often been described as a bureaucratic giant. To what extent do you feel this administrative structure has helped or hindered its growth?
That's a very good question. And I think taking off from where Colonel Bana left, I think bureaucracy does come in the picture now. And unfortunately, I have been a bureaucrat. So that gives me, but fortunately, I was in the private sector after leaving the railways. So I've seen
Right.
both the inside and outside. Firstly, the prevailing policy insofar as PPP is concerned, let me say, is very confusing. There is, as you had very rightly put, no single one framework of a policy or a contract that can be worked out. I totally agree with that. Having said that, the bureaucracy, if we call it, now what is the bureaucracy? Bureaucracy was devised actually as an administrative measure for making efficient and quick decisions. What we find in the government and in the railways too is that both the efficiency and the quickness of decisions is marred by a lot of uh, unforeseen things like, for instance, okay, we have the vigilance that comes in the picture. So what happens with that? The risk-taking appetite of the railway officers or the organization per se is just not there. And this is not in the development of the PPP alone. It is elsewhere also, even in the normal projects when the contracting is going on. Absolutely. The risk-taking appetite is not there. That is seen in the type of contracts that we have. Now that makes a big, big difference. But on the positive side, I would like to say that railways have tried a lot of public-private participation. To start with, as a matter of fact, in the manufacturing field, what I've been saying, and I've in the earlier interviews where Colonel Bana and I have been together in the international ones, I've said that sleeper manufacturing was one of them. And we did it, started it about 40 years back, 45, 50 years back. We started that. So it was a participation. But then what was to be seen is that there was a client and there was a contractor or a group of contractors. But the area was one, it was production of sleepers. So if you go further, we have actually got good PPP lately now. As a matter of fact, Siemens, Alstom, they are going in with the PPP with for the engine production, for the spare parts. That is happening. We have had cases like Pipava Port, where we have gone for the last mile things. A success, great success. Krishnapatnam Port, we have done that. We have done it for the ports, yes. Last mile connectivities and the ports and things like that. Hydrogen train. This again is not only a railway's own production, it is a PPP. Okay. They have gone in for that. But what happens in the railways is that there is no clear thinking about what area should be devoted to the PPP and left for the development of the PPP. Now, my argument in that is, so far the risk appetite was not there, and one more factor is there. Even in the private sector, the risk appetite is not there. Both are actually fighting with each other, and the thought process or the link that is there is very different, because here the railways save themselves against the vigilance and what happens from the decision making. Private sector wants its profits. It's not a project, where there's going to be an investment and they can wait for the returns. So returns have to be there. Now here what I find is that today the capex in the railway is on the increase. And my own assessment is this should allow the railways to develop a greater risk-averse sort of a situation can be developed where their capacity to take a risk is much more. And they should be able to get into it. So bureaucracy, yes, one can say bureaucracy is at work. I'm not denying that. But then within the bureaucracy, railways have taken steps in a lot of fields. They have gone and developed projects, whether it is in manufacturing or in the last mile or areas like that. We have certainly failed in the railways for running trains. That public-private partnership has just not been created. But my view in that is because railways do not know where to actually look for PPP.
Indeed, sir. As for my thinking is concerned, that sheds light on reforming internal dynamics, which might be as critical as laying new tracks on the ground. Well, in clear words, it seems need to go beyond policy and practice. Coming to you, Dr. Bana, with your global experience in public-private partnership models, can you walk us through an international railway project that successfully used the PPP format and what India could learn from it?
Okay, so here I would like to share with you the experience of South Africa. In South Africa in 2010, they commissioned what is now known as Gautrain. This train network is a rapid rail network which is connecting Pretoria to Johannesburg and their international airport at Tambo. So this project, which is about 80 kilometers in length, costed them about $4.1 billion, and it was a partnership between the Gauteng provincial government and Bombela Consortium, whereas the participation, technical participation was from Bombardier and Borges. The best thing about this project was that its financial structure was amenable for government viability gap funding. It was construction was efficient and risk taking was balanced.
Okay.
And then subsequent to that, they were able to bring in world class rolling stock, modern fare collection systems, and largely that area, that geography of these two major towns was car dependent, and they were able to move people to travel in this world class infrastructure, and people are liking it. So it is not, it is a perfect example of private capacity partnering with public policy goals and being successful at that. So what we in the emerging economies like India can see that long gestation projects with high capex can also be delivered if planned well and operated meticulously with good uh, dispute resolution mechanisms, performance appraisal systems, and right kind of insurance. So that entirely what Sir is mentioning, the risk matrix has to be very well designed
Yes.
and efficiently managed.
That's encouraging and truly insightful, sir. Global benchmarks can serve as valuable guideposts for our own transformation journey. Coming to you, sir, the IRSDC was once seen as a game changer for station redevelopment through public private partnerships, yet it was eventually dissolved. What are your views on its short lived journey and the current preferences for the EPC model?
For the EPC model.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it was the biggest blunder Indian Railways did. To do away with IRSDC, I think was the biggest mistake. And it is courtesy the economist Mr. Sanyal who had given these ideas that there should be a merger of PSUs. While that thinking was very good, I agree there. My belief is that RLDA should have been merged into IRSDCC. IRSDCC, whatever little studies I did of IRSDCC and interacted with them, I found they were on the right path for the PPP. Particularly, they were given the opportunity to develop stations. Habibganj was one of them. They developed that. And they were on the right path. And not only that, and what Colonel Bana just said about the South African system. See, they even developed the concept along with the planning people of TOD, transit oriented destinations. Now, that was the beautiful concept, which coming onto the stations would mean that we do away with cars and public transport.
Correct.
We do away, we walk there. There is a beautiful location where there are hotels, there are restaurants, there are people, places to stay. IRSDC had managed and developed that system. And then lo and behold, they were virtually on the brink of giving out contracts for stations like New Delhi, CSTM, Nagpur, Agra, I think it was Gwalior, places like that, Amritsar. But the last moment, it was withdrawn away. In the EPC that you mentioned, see, even PPC, even PPA goes through the route of EPC. Ultimately, the PPA owner, he has to subcontract the works for the continuation. And that is what happens in EPC. So I don't think EPC or a PPA should make any difference, whichever way the contract goes, because there are many instances of having EPC contracts, still the PPA is there. There are EPC contracts where joint ventures are there. and the things have worked very well. Idea is what? Idea is that railways do not have the finances, capex, and some private partner should come and invest into the railways.
Yes.
So that does happen. And my belief in this is that unfortunately the railways lack a deep insight into anything to do with the monetization of the assets or the creation of the assets, things like that, which actually, which again goes back to your previous question, that is it a bureaucratic nature?
Yes, sir.
Maybe, yes. But that is how I feel that it was a big blunder IRSDC had to go.
What an interesting point of ambition versus execution, which clearly states the delivery format makes or breaks the vision. To my understanding, I firmly believe project mechanism need to evolve alongside vision. Coming to you, Dr. Bana, in sectors like telecom and power, regulators play a key role in maintaining transparency and investors' trust. Do you believe Indian Railways also needs an independent regulator to make PPPs more investor friendly?
Yes, of course. There is a compelling and long outstanding case for having a independent regulator in the railways. But as of now, it is formulating the policies and also operating, which, while uh, doing it traditionally, is perfectly all right. But when it requires the private players to come and invest and also take responsibilities of various kind of operations, then certainly they would need a stable policy and an independent regulatory atmosphere. So for that, like in case of, you mentioned uh, telecom, you mentioned about the energy. So there they are controlling the tariff. The regulators are also uh, balancing it out. Tariff, access, and dispute resolution. These are the primary things. But as far as railways is concerned, uh, the regulator, when it comes in, it will not only have to look for these things, but also right from the beginning, right from the day investment is planned, right? So, uh, uh, transparent bidding, then thereafter your financial closures, value of the asset, and then during construction, thereafter operations, access to the operations, then your performance reviews, because private operator cannot just deliver substandard services and get paid for it. Then dispute resolutions, and more importantly, international investors need to have a comprehensive insurance paradigm, which also needs to be created. So anyone who's coming in to invest, whether Indian entity or foreign entity, they need a level playing field, a credible regulatory mechanism, and it is required.
Yes, sir, that's compelling. Regulations does build reassurance. Sir, with AI making inroads across industries, what do you see it simplifying the operational complexities of Indian Railways and enhancing its attractiveness for PPPs?
Uh, if you give me the permission, I'd like to respond also to Dr. Bana's thing about the regulator.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I agree with him. A regulator is necessary. But I don't think the railways are ready. And in the last sentence, actually, he said a lot more where the regulator is presently may not be needed. Because the point is, railways have to do away with playing with their organization and their structure.
Yes,
See, till they have completed that, then thereafter they'll be able to find out, okay, which are the domains which can be actually given out for the PPP. Today they are playing in so many domains for the PPP, and as you rightly said, there is no one contract system or one system for all of them. So right now they are actually into a stage of trial and that is what is going on. It's a big organization, so that is one part which they are looking at. Now, the question of uh, AI. As far as AI is concerned, I think railways are using it, started using the AI foundations much earlier than anybody else in India. Now, AI is the last part. You develop an AI after you've done lot of works, and that is where IoT comes in also. Internet working comes in. As a matter of fact, the railways developed the PRS system. Now, that was when the computerization came. But that very PRS system today has got so much of data, so much of information. Now, that is beginning to get converted into the base for the AI. So, algorithms have to be written out for that.
Yes.
The programs have to be written out because it is not the same language as what a general chat AI or something is dealing with. I don't know if you have tried. I have gone on the chat AI and questioned it, and it says, "I'm sorry, I don't have the data."
Yes.
You have to go back to the organization or find out from them. So it is at that stage right now. And then there's another dilemma there. Of late, there have been big debates going on. One, Mr. Duggal is there, a Supreme Court lawyer on AI. The other day, I was listening to him, and he said that AI is bereft of, the fact that, actually not bereft, I should say, it is full of problems that are going to be arising in the public domain. Now, here again, the railways have to be very careful. If on the passenger reservation systems or the food or anything, they go into the AI, and at some stage, for the customer who's there, the AI refuses to accept what he said. You know of the case where the AI was asked to stop the program, and the AI said, "Sorry, I won't stop." I mean, that was the type of a game that is going on today. So, AI is not that easy. And my own view is it will take its time. Railway has started on it. They will do it. And AI is being used today in BIM. They are using it for the maintenance of the assets like track. They are using it for the maintenance of wagons. There are a lot of it that is going on there. Fracture, bridges. So that already, because those are small domains. It started with a TMS, a track management system, a train management system. A lot of things came up. Those are now gradually getting into the field of the AI because data has been created. Now these people have to get down to, yes, setting that data and creating the language for the railway AI. That is already a job which has been taken up. It will take a little time.
Sure, sir. Technology as an enabler. It's time railways leverage. It's not just for operations, but for partnerships. Innovations could indeed be the fast track we've been waiting for, and AI might just be the right switch. Coming to the last question, Dr. Bana, in your opinion, what kind of policy reforms or incentives are crucial right now to stimulate private investments in railway infrastructure?
Okay. Before that, if you allow me, sir, I'll just add that AI can be effectively utilized in trying to run PPPs more smoothly than before in the railways also.
Yeah.
Because many of the planning time, documentation or dispute resolutions or even performance reviews can happen with AI in a quicker time frame, and the integrity of those could be better than a human interface.
No, I agree. As
Yes.
a matter of fact, in dispute resolution and arbitrations,
Yes.
it could be very well used. You're right.
So that can play a enabler role for the
Very
PPPs
true.
in the railways.
Very true, sir.
Now, coming to the investment,
Yes.
which you asked me, the railways will have to balance out the risk, reward, and the regulatory mechanisms. And that balancing, if that is done thoughtfully, can provide that credibility and transparency and assurance to people who would like to take the risk. As Sir has said, the Indian companies who have participated in PPPs and railways have uh, remained short of being excellent in their job. So there is a lot of gap there. Whereas overseas, a lot of good PPPs in railways are running and they are doing very well in Latin America, even in Europe. So there is a lot to see there and lot to learn. And once we have right model concession agreements, and then we also have regulatory mechanisms. We have insurance companies taking care of various type of insurance, and then we can be sure of unleashing the tremendous capacity of private sector in India, because as I mentioned at the beginning, Indian economy is poised to grow at similar rate next year as well, and maybe subsequent years. An entire world big investors are looking at India. We only have to give them enabling an atmosphere, enabling a table which where they can come and participate in doubling our railway network. Thank you.
Can I add a point to Dr.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm just repeating the freedom of movement. I think they should have the DFC, dedicated freight corridor. If it has the freedom of movement, there'll be private investors willing to come in. Unfortunately, that the investors, the freedom of movement on the traffic is not there.
So,
I think that is one area on the DFCs. The railway should allow whatever that organization is, that wherever the private sector comes in, take them, move the traffic the way they want it, when they want it, how they want it, where they want to reach it.
something like railway as a service.
Railway as a service. I mean, I'm just
You don't have to own things, but yet you can mobilize.
I'm comparing it with the road.
Yes, sir.
Unless you have that freedom, road has the freedom.
Yes.
And railways don't have it. So somewhere we got to knock on that.
Very true, sir. Thank you. A policy first approach could be very well open up the tracks for private participation. Powerful takeaways there. Sound policy is truly the engine behind the private participation. That brings us to the end of this journey into the world of public-private partnerships in Indian Railways. A big thank you to Mr. Rakesh Chopra and Dr. Naresh Bana for sharing your expert insights and a year of wisdom. It's clear that the potential is immense, but unlocking it will take bold reforms, smart regulations, and a willingness to improve. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. Until next time, I'm Deepika Upadhyay signing off. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.